Hey, it's DROdio with Founder Culture. So I'm here today with Emil. Emil, you are one of the founders in Founder Culture, and you've got a really, really amazing technology that you were just showing me. I'd love for you to share it. So why don't you introduce yourself and talk a bit about Entry?
Hey everyone, I'm Emil. I'm CEO here at Entry, and Entry is the easiest way to think about it is Face ID for web. We allow users to seamlessly authenticate online and prove that they are who they say they are without any compromise to privacy or security. And we help companies, financial institutions, and banks to reduce fraud and prevent data breaches, account takeovers, and all kinds of identity-related problems by virtue of enabling anyone to use their true physical identity online in a very safe manner. Let me show you how it works. We use internally Entry as as an identity provider. So I, as an end user that uses companies' G Suite, in this example, it's a G Suite. When I'm attempting to log into G Suite, Google redirects me to Entry. Entry asks me to verify my identity in a very passwordless and seamless fashion. On the background, we check if that's the real person or not. It's do I have permissions to access this resource or not? Tons and tons of layers of security controls to make sure that it's not a phishing attack or spoofing attack if it's actually a real person. And then when everything checks out, Entry allows me to log in, and we do it for any app
So
that you use internally.
I just want to parse out what you just said because there's so much there. It's amazing because it's such a simple user experience, which is the thing that gets me excited. Like as a user, I no longer have to fumble for a password, or maybe I'm not a sophisticated user, so I'm reusing passwords all over different applications.
Yep.
And then one company has a breach, and now I probably don't even realize it. My password is compromised across a lot of different applications because most humans use passwords they can
Yep.
remember. It's like a really big problem.
Yep.
Or if I'm a more sophisticated user like myself, I'm using a password manager like 1Password, but then I never remember the password because I don't, I have different passwords for each application. They're always long. I can't remember them. I have to go find it. I have to go put it in. Then there's often like a second factor authentication code where I get an SMS and then I have to go put that in. It's like such a pain. And you're replacing all of that with me just showing my face, which is like a
Yep. That's
beautiful
right.
user experience. But then on the back end, I know you've been in deep R&D for a couple of years, so you're using a
Yep.
2D web camera, and you're doing a lot of like ML and AI to make sure that it's not like a picture of my face; it's actually a real 3D
Exactly.
face. And then you also mentioned that you're then taking that hash of what your system recognizes as my face, and then you're looking to see what systems I'm allowed into. So
That's right.
right. So
Yep.
I just want to make sure that like the complexity of what's actually happening behind the scenes with this very simple user experience
Yep.
something that's understood here.
Yeah. So one thing that here's what objectively true. When iPhone and Apple first launched Face ID that allowed anyone to unlock an iPhone or log into bank apps with Face ID, that immediately proven sort of this proverbial 10x in user experience.
Mm-hmm.
And we also, as an industry, we learned that this is something that users want. And
Mm-hmm.
if you do it correctly, if you do it with the privacy of an end user in mind, this will give you the sort of the next improvement step of what we have today, which is password. That, by the way, didn't really change over the past 70 years. And the only reason why biometric authentication has not been widely adopted just yet, it boils down to one simple thing, which is the need to have a specialized hardware sensor to operate, which is infrared sensor. And the reason why you need this sensor is because if you use 2D web camera, RGB web camera, to identify a 3D object, which is user face, it creates problem where there's 1,001 way how you can spoof the system. So what our team's DNA is around R&D in computer vision specifically. This is what we've been proud of for many years. And we've been working over the past couple of years to build a system that would enable biometric authentication to operate on any device with a web camera and internet connection.
Mm-hmm.
Not only at the same level of security assurance as hardware approach, but also getting better every time.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we outperform infrared approach by 75%, simply by virtue of using the software, and the system kind of learns and uses learnings from previous authentication attempts every time and can get better.
That's so cool. And then also you showed me something which was really magical, which was what happens if you try to log in as somebody that you're not. Could you also show that as well?
Yeah. So let me, for example, demonstrate if I'm a bad person and I'm attempting to authenticate to my to Roman's account. Roman is my co-founder and the CTO here at XX. When I do it, let's see what's going to happen.
Okay, so you are Emil. You are pretending to be Roman.
Emil.
Like, let's imagine that you're an attacker. I'm going to log in as someone who I'm not.
Yep.
The system comes up. Okay.
And then, Andrew asks me to verify my identity.
At first, when I see that, I'm like, oh my God, it didn't work. It didn't block you.
Yeah.
But what's amazing is like what happens next.
Yeah, it's actually like identified, this is not Roman, this is Emil. So I better put him Emil in his right account and proper account, and basically entry put me in my actual account, not Roman's account.
Right. So it's like here's where you should actually be. You must be lost, which is amazing because this is something that is really powerful because you basically have a database of all the registered faces. And if somebody tries to spoof somebody, like, when entry gets to a big scale, you'll be able to tell who that person actually is. It's like, hey, this other person tried to log in as you. And that's a really valuable thing at scale. So it's like the more companies use entry, the more powerful it becomes to be able to stop those kinds of account takeovers. Yeah.
And there's one interesting thing that we're learning. We help financial institutions and banks to prevent all kinds of problem, and one of them is account takeover. And account takeover means when someone pretends to be me and access my account, even know my credentials. There's an entire industry around fraud prevention in this specific area, but there's one use case which is actually, I think it's someone recently told me it's roughly 40% of all account takeovers happens, which is friendly account takeover or family account takeover. So what happens is an attempt to authenticate into a bank is happening from legit computer that banks know it's trusted device from the same network. No red flags in the authentication section. However, when someone is accessing this account of a user, they would just transfer money somewhere else. And the reason why it's happened is very unfortunate. It's more often than not happens from family members who either have some problem with addiction or some other reasons to actually do it. And typical systems today, they cannot catch this because formally everything checks out. Your traditional providers of fraud detection, complex models that try to use sort of secondary and tertiary signals to and using statistics to identify if it's a legit authentication system or not, they fail to do it. The reason why they fail to do it is that there is no way to tie the physical identity and owner of an identity to whoever is typing the key, the keypad. If I'm a mom in North Carolina, my browser probably saved my password to the bank, and if a relative can just simply log into the computer and then type in pre-populate autofill from the browser password and then do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And this is where we come in.
So I guess this is a really important thing to share, which is not only can entry help on the front end. So when I'm first authenticating a person and I want to be able to say tie a government issued ID to a login and those types of things, but the even more important part is every time the user accesses my system, I can ensure they are who they say they are. And when we have these like family or friendly account takeovers where it's someone in the same house with the same IP address and everything else checks out, the only way to make sure that that doesn't happen is by literally being able to tie the physical identity to that digital login, and you can do that. That's a really good point. Okay, well, thank you for sharing. It's really, really exciting technology. I can't wait to see how this gets adopted. And just, by the way, I'm also going to post the white paper on a lot of the like ML and AI work that you've been doing.
Yep.
It really shows the science behind how you're able to use a 2D web camera to do this bio authentication. So just awesome. Really great to have
Sounds
you
good.
in the founder culture community.
Thank you so much, DROdio.
All right.
Happy to.
Ciao.
Thank you. All right. Ciao.